Before we begin our proceedings of this morning agenda, kindly allow me the honor and the privilege of acknowledging the presence of the following: the BSE and CSDB board members here present, Mayor Itumele Marego, Mayor Pascaline Sefawe, Mayor Situnya Makebe, let me also acknowledge our guest of honor, former governor of the Bank of Botswana, Mayor Lina Kelebohile Mohotlo, the BSC CEO, Mr. Thapelo Thaule, our distinguished panelists. We have Absa Bank of Botswana Limited, Corporate Banking Director, Mayor Leslie Bradley. We also have CFA Society Board Member and Head of Investment at NMG, Mayor Razia Gani. We also have Lucara Diamond MD, Mayor Nazim Larry, BSC Head of Marketing, Mayor Thapelo Maribame, who will be moderating on the topic later on in the program. Let me also acknowledge BSC management here present, members of the media. Allow me to also acknowledge the presence of our followers watching through live feed on our Facebook page. My name is Masako Pitolenzui and I'm the Master of Ceremonies for today's event. Today is the 8th of March 2021, and in the global calendar, it is the International Women's Day. Botswana Stock Exchange is joining other 88 stock exchanges globally who are commemorating this special day. The theme for today is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. Thank you all for choosing to join the BSL group to commemorate this beautiful day, International Women's Day. You are welcome, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to briefly run through the program for today. We will have welcome remarks by the board member, Mayor Itumele Marego. We will have our official remarks by our guest speaker, Mayor Mohotlo. And there will be a discussion on the topic. As I said, it will be moderated by Mayor Thapelo Maribame. And the panelists are Ms. Bradley, Ms. Gani, and Ms. Larry. And we will ring the bell for gender equality later on the program. Later on, we will do the photo shooting. Without further ado, let me call on Mayor Marego to come and give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Director of Ceremony. I would like to recognize the presence of the following: BSC and CSDB board members here present, our guest of honor, former governor of the Bank of Botswana, Mayor Lina Kelebohile Mohotlo, BSE CEO Mayor Thapelo Thaule, our distinguished panel and guests and special guests, the Corporate Director Banking for Absa Bank of Botswana Limited, Mayor Leslie Bradley, the CFA board member and head of investments at NMG, Ms. Razia Gani, Lucara Diamond Corporation MD, Ms. Nazim Larry, the rest of the staff. Allow me also to acknowledge the presence of the media and members of the public watching virtually from various places. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. It's my pleasure to be delivering the welcome remarks at this year's Botswana Stock Exchange March 2021 opening bell ceremony in commemoration and celebration of International Women's Day under the global theme, Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. Today's International Women's Day ceremony is not specific to the BSC alone, but rather a collective effort made for securities exchanges around the world to raise awareness on the importance of gender equality. Hence, as we are here today, we join 88 securities exchanges around the world. We also join the global community in recognizing and celebrating the achievement made by women today and in the past, as it is done so annually on the 8th of March. Many of us are aware, issues surrounding gender equality continue to be topical in our societies the world over. Paramount challenges such as access to education, employment opportunities, gender-based violence, enforced segregation, among others, are some of the issues that we need to address for us to promote sustainable development for the betterment of our world tomorrow. Therefore, on a personal capacity, we need to invoke conversations with our female counterparts and do our part to change the perception of the masses. Director of Ceremonies, distinguished guests, as I now switch the focus, I am happy to say the BSC has various structures and programs in place to promote gender equality in the workplace. Firstly, 50% of our senior management staff positions are occupied by women, while the 58% of the entire staff complement is comprised of women. Secondly, the BSC has conceptualized a number of policies to safeguard and promote gender balance, such as the sexual harassment policy, remuneration policy, which advocates for equal benefits, and the maternity-paternity leave policy that ensures paid salary during pregnancy for female employees. Furthermore, the BSC commemorates international and national days set aside to acknowledge issues affecting both genders. These considerations will continue to be part of the BSC culture as we aim to tilt the tide and promote a more gender-balanced world. On that note, let me once again wish the ladies in attendance today and around the world a happy International Women's Day. Distinguished guests, as part of my duty today, I will be delivering the market updates as per the norm. This will be for the period 4th January to 26 February 2021. Firstly, allow me to start off with the equity market performance. In terms of turnover, the BSC has traded 68 million pula, which translates into an average daily turnover of 1.7 million pula. During this period, the number of shares traded equate to 55.5 million shares. In terms of market capitalization, the equities market is valued at 39.1 billion, representing 24 domestic listed companies and 7 foreign listed companies. We still have Botswana Building Society as the only company registered on our Serala OTC, or over-the-counter board. With respect to debt security, the value traded for government bonds from 4th January to 26 February 2021 stood at 25.9 million pula, while corporate bonds for the same period stood at 4.4 million pula. This means that the total value traded of bonds stood at 30.3 million pula. For the market capitalization, government bonds are valued at 15.6 billion pula, while corporate bonds are valued at 5.5 billion pula. This brings the total bonds market capitalization to 21.1 billion pula. Currently, we have 6 government bonds and 38 corporate bonds. Director of Ceremonies, with those few remarks and market updates, I would like to thank you all for attending this morning special ceremony. From Botswana Stock Exchange to you, happy International Women's Day. Enjoy the rest of the day. Pula.
Thank you, Mama Reko, for the welcome remarks. Now we'll go to the official remarks by our guest speaker, former governor of Botswana, Mellina Mohotlo. But before we do that, let me briefly highlight to you the achievements, how she has managed to break the glass ceiling. And that was then when it was so difficult for women to be appointed to those positions. We celebrate her. She began her career at the Bank of Botswana in 1976 as a secretary. She rose through the ranks in operational and policy areas of the bank, and 23 years later, in 1999, she was governor of the Bank of Botswana and served for 17 years to 2016. Earlier in her career, she had worked for the IMF in the African Development Monetary and Exchange Affairs Department. In addition to having been the deputy chairman of the inaugural Botswana Economic Advisory Council, Ms. Mohotlo has served on boards of major corporations in Botswana and abroad, among which are Diamond Empowerment Fund, Diamond Trading Company of Botswana, and the Botswana Mining Company. Her international engagements included serving the UN and eminent person in a number of capacities, being a member of the Tony Blair Commission for Africa and the Africa Progress Panel. Her active participation in the affairs of the World Economic Forum culminated in co-chairing the World Economic Forum for Africa in 2011. Among others, she is the Chancellor of the University of Deputy Chairperson of the University of Foundation Board of Trustees. She is also a member of the Advisory Board and of the World Health Organization Council on the Economics of Health for All. Ms. Mohotlo is the recipient of a number of awards, among which are several Central Bank Governor of the Year for Africa awards, Lifetime Achievement Award, which is official monetary and financial institution forums, and Botswana's highest public service award for efficient and devoted service. This is the President Order of Honor. Forbes Africa ranked her one of Africa's 10 most influential women, 2011-2012. Ms. Mohotlo has read accounting and business, economics, finance and investments at the University of Botswana, the George Washington University and University of Exeter, and undertook executive management training at Yale University. She has authored, presented, published papers and books chapters mainly on central banking, economics, monetary operations, and governance. That's just a brief. If we were to read, it will be a book. Yeah, it will be a book from her achievements. Ramolebogisa, help me usher in Mema Mohotlo to give us the official remarks.
For instance, the 30% representation in Parliament that was mandated for women by the African Union has not been met. It is still below 20% in Sub-Saharan Africa and less than 10% in North Africa. You will agree that here at home, the situation remains deplorable. There are only 6 positions occupied by women in the Parliament of Botswana. I have lost count of how many there are. I think there are a little bit above 60. Now, if you can only think of 6 women out of a number of 60 people, you will agree that this is something about which we need to make a lot of noise. It should be seen to shun, this is the press, the rampant violence against women, while television, film, and commercial advertisements should not perpetuate the stereotype ideas about the role of women in society. Of course, it is incumbent on women journalists to advance women's interests, and ensure that women's aspirations are no longer relegated to the fringes of social issues. They must be brought to the fore at all times. Admittedly, the obstacle of the traditional social roles of women, especially with regard to nurturing the family and bringing up children, tends to retard women's advancement in a number of ways. These traditional social roles are also powerful psychological forces which in some cases lower women's self-confidence to compete with their male counterparts and compel them to lower their ambitions. The traditional gender role of women is also a major impediment to rising to top positions in any field. A woman has to strike a balance between devoting time, building a career, and discharging domestic family responsibilities. In most instances, the balance tends to tilt in the direction of family chores, mainly because family responsibilities are just as important. But both men and women can strike an appropriate balance when all members of a household share the burden. After all, the stability and robustness of any society depends on the strength of a home. It also depends on how children are nurtured, how they are guided, how they are loved, so that they grow into responsible adults, productive members of society, and loyal citizens. A change in social attitudes must start in the home. Sons must be brought up to respect their sisters and know that household chores do not have a gender label. As a related matter, in difficult economic situations, women tend to face gender-related challenges of not being able to retain jobs and progress in their careers. Indeed, as the pandemic manifests itself, more women are likely to be laid off in Botswana and elsewhere. As a matter of fact, the number of women chief executive officers in the Fortune 500 industrial and service companies continues to be disappointing. As if this is not enough, according to the latest United Kingdom Chartered Managers Institute, only 1/3 of the 350 UK executives are women, and this is all because of the so-called glass pyramid, where the already few deserving women have nowhere to go. They are then laid off as the pyramid narrows. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I conclude my remarks by observing that whatever the circumstances, there are outstanding women out there discharging their responsibilities diligently and meticulously. They need our support because they deserve it. They are making us proud as they pave the way for younger women. You will know that the incontrovertible fact that Botswana women are central to national development and to nurturing the country's future was underscored distinctly in designing the highest denomination of the country's currency, the 200 banknote. Those who have it now can have a look at it. Let me end by acknowledging the fact that there is an increasing number of men willing to speak out in solidarity with women, and they insist on women's full participation at all levels of decision-making. They also campaign for equal treatment of women under the law, in public life, in business, when all members of a household share the burden. After all, the stability and robustness of any society depends on the strength of a home. It also depends on how children are nurtured, how they are guided, how they are loved, so that they grow into responsible adults, productive members of society, and loyal citizens. A change in social attitudes must start in the home. Sons must be brought up to respect their sisters and know that household chores do not have a gender label. As a related matter, in difficult economic situations, women tend to face gender-related challenges of not being able to retain jobs and progress in their careers. Indeed, as the pandemic manifests itself, more women are likely to be laid off in Botswana and elsewhere. As a matter of fact, the number of women chief executive officers in the Fortune 500 industrial and service companies continues to be disappointing. As if this is not enough, according to the latest United Kingdom Chartered Managers Institute, only 1/3 of the 350 UK executives are women, and this is all because of the so-called glass pyramid, where the already few deserving women have nowhere to go. They are then laid off as the pyramid narrows. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I conclude my remarks by observing that whatever the circumstances, there are outstanding women out there discharging their responsibilities diligently and meticulously. They need our support because they deserve it. They are making us proud as they pave the way for younger women. You will know that the incontrovertible fact that Botswana women are central to national development and to nurturing the country's future was underscored distinctly in designing the highest denomination of the country's currency, the 200 banknote. Those who have it now can have a look at it. Let me end by acknowledging the fact that there is an increasing number of men willing to speak out in solidarity with women, and they insist on women's full participation at all levels of decision making. They also campaign for equal treatment of women under the law, in public life, in business, and as agents of economic change. I encourage women to build on this support and harness more of it. We should not be seen to be disappointing this cohort of men. I wish the women and men of Botswana well, and many others beyond the shores of Botswana, as we celebrate, commemorate, and reflect on this International Women's Day. I thank you sincerely for your attention.
Thank you, Mema Mohotlo. It was a mouthful, food for thought. Let's continue to sow those seeds of positive change. Now we're coming to the point where we will be calling on our panelists to discuss the topic. May I request that we move down?
It's okay. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, and happy International Women's Day to all the wonderful ladies in the room. Please allow me to say all protocol has been observed. It is a pleasure for me to moderate this panel today, particularly because this event comes at the backdrop of all the challenges that we experienced in 2020 to date because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we celebrate the tremendous efforts by women and girls in shaping a more equal future and being part of the recovery from this pandemic. I'm sure you will agree with me when I say that. It goes without saying that during this pandemic, women and girls have shown the most exemplary leadership, like the former governor of the Bank of Botswana, Mama Mohotlo, has already highlighted. So I'm proud to be joined this morning by a panel of accomplished, powerful leaders in their respective fields, ladies who continue to demonstrate great leadership and resilience in business, particularly during this pandemic.
So I think the question is a very key question in terms of equality, diversity, and it's so important to understand that these two aspects of equality and diversity are definitely combined with inclusion. Because if you don't have inclusion, then you don't have diversity. And for me, it's three things. When you have diversity and inclusion incorporated, you create an organization, obviously, which is diverse, has creativity and innovation, and that is so key to any organization. And this is statistically proven. If you have diversity, innovation goes up, creativity goes up. Again, and I'm sure you can tell by the numbers I'm giving you, or the numbers I'm going to give you, that I'm accounted by profession. So all these are supported by stats. I mean, the other thing, second point to diversity is the fact that if you look at diversity, if you have a diverse team of members, and specifically in the C-suite or at management level, automatically within the first 2 years, you can see a 5 to 10% increase in your revenue and bottom line to your shareholders. the share price, automatically you'll see that within 2 years, diversity brings you that. And thirdly, again, it's coming back to shareholders and the market share in the, we heard about the market share of Lukano Botswana. You know that within what is it, about 34% of your market share increases within the first 2 years as well. Revenue by 5 to 10%. So for me, it's a no-brainer. If you have diversity and inclusion, it is so good for your business. And it brings in creativity and innovation, and what more important than increasing the bottom line? Obviously, it supports the business, and I always say it's a chicken and egg situation. You need revenue to nurture your people, and you need people to nurture the organization. And that is very, very key for me. Thank you.
It has been shown that when gender equality is an intentional agenda, and women are empowered, the benefits reach wider and deeper audiences. And I think Mamhoto spoke about that earlier on. Lastly, women have been leading. They've been leading in their own way for centuries. So I like to call it the manifesto of leadership without titles. So we've been doing it. And Mamhoto also spoke about that, to say we have women as campaign managers of politicians. Why are we not at the forefront? We can do it. And lastly, Kasetswana Hel, Mosadi ke Thari ya Setjhaba. So for me, I think those are fundamentals that actually, kind of embed why we're here today. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and respond to the question as well, if that's okay. In terms of why gender equality is important. If we think about what is gender equality, essentially what it means is equal rights for men and women, equal economic opportunities, equal decision-making power, equal access to resources, and the equality in the valuing of different needs and behaviors. And I think that's quite an important aspect because, women and men behave differently, and what we need is we actually need everybody's view to be taken seriously. So in reality, it's all just, and I think if we get that right, if we get gender equality right, it takes us a step closer to everything that we need to achieve in the world. We get closer to world peace. We're tackling poverty. We're leading to more sustained economic outcomes. Where everyone is treated fairly, they enjoy the exact same rights as anyone else, irrespective of their gender. And why it's really important is because it incorporates that diverse and different perspectives into decision making. So these are things that all of the speakers have mentioned, and I think it's globally accepted that having more diverse views will improve your outcomes in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Thapelo, and thank you to our panelists. Those were very insightful discussions on the topic. Let me once again say, please, let's give them a round of applause. Yes, as you can see, our market is open. We are trading. Those who are buying and selling, they are, as you see on the screen. And I will now call forth our guest of honor, together with the board members and our panelists here, to go up there for the bell ringing. By the way, we have roses there. We have 40 roses. Gentlemen, please, when you reach home, let those roses go to our women there. And whether it's mothers, it's daughters, whoever, please appreciate them with those roses from Botswana Stock Exchange. Management, BC management ladies, please also come forth and join our guest of honor to ring the bell for gender equality. We are ringing the bell for gender equality. Ringing the bell for gender equality. And I'll count. to 3. Or maybe I'll start from 3, and when it's 0, you start ringing. It's 3, 2, 1. Ring the bell for gender equality. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is just a reminder to all of us that gender equality is one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It's goal number 5. And these goals are scorecard to every country to make sure that all these goals are achieved. I'm happy we have our women here, especially Member Mohotlo, who has led and is still leading the way, and we hope to follow suit Member Mohotlo. Let's also give her a round of applause. Thank you. Female staff members, please come through to join the team here for a group picture. Proud women, please come through. BC. Come and rub your shoulders with the powerful women on the podium.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. I would like to start by recognizing the presence of the following BSE and CSD board members here present. Our guest of honor, former Bank of Botswana Governor, Mayor Lina Mohotlo, BSE CEO, Retapelo Seole, our distinguished panel, and special guests, notably ABSA Corporate Banking Director, Leslie Bradley, CFA Society Board Member, and Head of Investments at NMG, Ms. Razia Ghani, Lucara Diamond Corp MD, Mayor Nazim Larry, and the rest of the BSE staff. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to also recognize the presence of the media and members of the public watching at home virtually today. Distinguished guests, a very good morning to you all. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for being with us this morning to commemorate International Women's Day with the Botswana Stock Exchange under the global theme, Women in Leadership, Achieving Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. My duty this morning is to deliver a vote of thanks and sum up key points and interesting discussions that we've held during our short engagement this morning. Firstly, and rightfully so, on behalf of the BSE and CSD board, management and staff, allow me the opportunity to extend my gratitude to our guest of honor, the former Governor of Bank of Botswana, Melina Kelebogile Mohotlo, for having accepted our invitation to be with us this morning and sharing her insights on today's importance as an industry leader in her own right. Furthermore, allow me to extend my deepest thanks to our panel and distinguished guests representing the spectrum of BSE-listed companies. We understand the sacrifice that you ladies have made to take time from your individual busy schedules to celebrate this day with us. Your role today cannot be understated, as you all act as role models for young women around the country with aspirations of breaking the status quo and succeeding as leaders in their respective field of interests. The interactions that we have shared with you will not go unnoticed. As the BSC, we will continue to advocate and support gender equality, and more importantly, women's rights as a means to tilt the balance and close the gender gap. Looking at it from a holistic view, gender equality is simply a question of power and how the other gender uses this power. Throughout the passage of time, ladies and gentlemen, we as a society have been living in a male-dominated world that ignored women's voices and continually overlooked women's achievements and successes. However, the tide is turning and the world is taking notice. Evidently, from a global context, it is pleasing to see so many members of the opposite gender being a part of the conversation in driving and promoting gender equality for the betterment of our world and future generations. Distinguished guests, kindly allow me to thank and acknowledge the support of CFA South Africa, who have partnered with BSE for the second year running in commemorating this special day. There's definitely strength in numbers, and this is a true testament that we are a part of a global movement to invoke a conversation and address challenges facing women today. We appreciate your continued support. Also, and without having to state the obvious, I will be failing in my duties if I fail to acknowledge and recognize the presence of the media here today. A robust market is complemented by your efforts and your efforts with respect to information dissemination. Therefore, your continued support in availing coverage and visibility for the exchange in various levels does not go unnoticed. We thank you for your support. Before concluding, let me also applaud and acknowledge the stewardship of Ratseole and his staff for organizing this special ceremony to celebrate women's contribution with other exchanges around the world as we ring the bell for gender equality. Let us continue to be a shining example for many. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, let me take this opportunity to thank once again our guest speaker, and present a token of appreciation